What is up, guys? Game of Life Show here, coming at you with a little bit more of a gameplay of the game Magic the Gathering, specifically Magic the Gathering Arena. Today I'll be showing you my Zoobies deck, which I lovingly made to be my Zombies deck. Mono black zombie deck moving forward, mainly because uh, I had an idea that having an attacking force of zombies, just non-stop attacking zombies, would be a pretty good idea, a little fun idea. I'm primarily a black player, so why not play, a black deck that would allow me to just constantly ramp my creatures up, forming more zombies to continue to attack, to form more zombies, and so on and so forth. Now, the main thing about this deck is not the champion, but the very fact of these little token generators that I love so much. Whenever a creature dies, I make a zombie decay token. Now, it has to be a non-token creature, so that is the main issue I have with it. But I understand that if it was any zombie, then it would be very, very, very bad. But I digress because it still works in my favor. Now, here he murders, but it means absolutely nothing to me because the champion is not the main point of this deck. The main deck is basically kicking your opponents in the shin, watching them fall to the ground, putting your foot on their back, and going, now they're going to eat you, as your zombies just mercilessly continue to attack. Because who the fuck is going to stop them? If you stop them, they'll make more if your creatures are too weak. I also have a bunch of different types of kill spells, such as Hero's Fall, Murder, Cast Down, as well as I believe there's one more I can't put my name on right now, but there's enough kill spells in here to make sure that most of the strongest creatures that are played out that don't have hexproof or anything like that are able to be taken care of quickly and are able to quickly become part of my 2/2 army decay army. Now, I also have out another card here, in which is supposed to be both a defensive and offensive option in order to make sure that I'm still able to ramp out damage and or defend myself. Because if it dies, it creates a 2/2 black zombie token. If it lives, it does 3 damage if it doesn't get blocked by anything. But either way, as if it dies or if it lives, it's still doing work no matter where it is. He sends out the little good game because at this point, we both currently understand that he is in fact going to lose. It was never an option. It was only a matter of time. So, I see that he was going for a sacrifice deck, which honestly made this game very unfair for him. He goes to revive one of his cards, and so I decide, hey, he's pretty low on mana, I might as well go for the cheeky murder. But unfortunately for me, he has a way to make his card indestructible, preventing the growth of my army for a minute, which is perfectly fine. If it wasn't for the fact that I was just currently swimming in my neck of just swamp water and leeches and mosquitoes. But, I guess it's just an average day living in Florida. So, in continuing on to my progressive state, as you can see, the ideal is coming into full force. Because not only have I really put him on the ropes, bringing him down to 3 to my 17, I'm also going to be trying to stack things up in my favor. The idea of it now is that if he attacks, I could easily sacrifice my Ghoul Caller in order to get even more decay tokens out. Because as far as I'm aware in his hand, he only has enough creatures to block 3 attacks. So if he were to, say, attack me, and I now have 5 creatures that are all 2/2, and he could only block 2 of them. But unfortunately, he chooses not to attack, and I have to decide on what I'm going to do here. So I decide to put him a little bit on the defensive rope, knowing that he can only block 2 creatures. I figured now would probably be a good time to really press him for his life. So now he has to at least block 2 in order to both give me another decay token as another 2 decay tokens on top of being able to take off a little bit off the top of his life. Unfortunately for me, that is not the case, as instead of playing the same game as me, he decides to play a little bit of 3D chess in order to try to keep his creatures alive, preventing me from summoning even more decay tokens. Now, here's the part that really just kind of befuddles me. As you can probably see, he's looking in his hands, and he's also looking at the creatures on the field, as he's probably thinking of, yes, murdering somebody. Now, he just made more decay tokens, which, honestly, he shouldn't have done that. He has a 7/7 on the board with his 2/1 and his 1/1, and if he wanted to, he could sacrifice now the 2/1 in order to make an enchantment that could try to force me to sacrifice some of my creatures. The only problem with that being is that if he attacks, he lose. If he doesn't attack, he still lose. If he hits the concede button, he loses. Now, here he is trying to basically kind of wean down the field a little bit in order to make sure that he won't lose. But the very unfortunate part about that is that he still doesn't have enough blockers to actually do anything against me. Therefore, my turn rolls out, I play out another black card, I send my zombies in to finish him off. Is what I would like to say, but I decide to play with his life a little bit, because, never really know. Giving an opponent one more turn can really change the tide of battles for either against you or for yourself. And here, I really like to think that he just kind of like, just like me, is just kind of befuddled by what is happening before him. Once again, swimming in my neck in swamp. So, seeing as I'm not going to draw anything anytime soon, I send in the Armada to basically do quick work of everyone. And with that, he's out. And I have a victory beneath my belt. Doobies. I have a little bit of a strange starting hand that I decide to keep. I'm mainly going to be focusing on getting these enchantments out, but I also have enough cards in my hand to really kind of ramp up the zombies if need to, especially since I'll have no idea what my opponents are running. If they're running another black deck like me, then, hopefully they'll be running something along the lines of sacrifice, so I'll be able to ramp my creatures along with whatever they plan to do themselves. The other thing here is being able to not only just kind of hope that with his kind of red-blue that he doesn't just start canceling out all of my spells, like a blue player, is that he doesn't try to burn me out fast. As he starts off with the little dragon spark here, in order to just kind of like apply a little pressure with the idea that he's going to be running at least an architect deck. Which, honestly, wouldn't be too bad as long as it's not just focusing heavily on spells. Here you see he's running a multitude of colors, red, black, and blue, which leaves me open to the idea that he's not going to be running your run-of-the-mill deck. So, I quickly cast out Cast Down to get rid of the start of his creatures, as well as what most likely he's aiming for is tokens, on top of increasing his little dragon node here, this dragon spark, in order to possibly deal the finishing touches of my health if I'm not too careful about it. Here he plays out a card that will allow him to kind of ramp his spells for the start, but I decide that's not really something that I should worry about. Since it's flying, I have no way of blocking it, because in the majority of all my black decks, I have a problem with running the ideal amount of flying creatures. He puts out a card here, a little oil canister, in order to actually start dealing out haste damage to me. With every turn, that oil counter is going to tick up, which means that the little token that he keeps playing is going to continuously increase its power, never its toughness, in order to deal more and more damage to me. So I have a bit of a running clock here, especially with that flyer hanging over my head. But I don't let it deter me as I continue to press forward. I figured that if he's going to kill anything, he would kill that if he truly wanted to. But I highly doubt he would do something as stupid as trying to block a ground unit with a flying. So I figured my best ideal here would just to be doing a little bit more damage and waiting until the start of his next turn, getting to the end of his turn possibly, and dealing out a little bit more damage by tapping the 3 other zombie creatures on the field right now. As you can see, my opponent has to really kind of mull these moments over. He decides to take the 2 like a good little boy, and he moves on to his turn. He seems to be either reading the dictionary over on his side or truly contemplating on what he wants to do next. Increasing further with the Dragon Spark node, also coming up with the Oni Stone in order to really start ramping up all of his tools that he needs. He starts playing down little Hasty Boy here, usually preserved mainly for the early game to really start ramping out 2 points of damage every turn. But he seems to be wanting to send it out early-ish on, hopefully in order to kind of start sending out his own little, I kind of forgot what they're called. They're like soldier tokens, I believe. The artifact soldier tokens in order to just kind of start ramping up on his own health, as well as getting some more creatures out on the field to possibly stop me from my own assault. So, as usual, I decide that looking forward at it, I have a couple of options I can make. Knowing that I'm going to be hit hard here soonish, I decide to just sacrifice it because it's going to still give me a lot of benefits in the end. And I also make sure to tap every creature on the field. That's way I can go ahead and give out the little 1 damage to keep the ticking time clock running. Out comes some more decay tokens and a regular token as well. And because of all those coming out, I can do 1 more piece of damage. Basically doing 1 more damage, actually, than he did to me on his own turn. On my next turn, I draw Murder, and I decide that I'm going to murder the fuck out of this bird. He decides to sacrifice it in order to basically give himself some life. I hit him with the little hush now, child, as he decides that sacrificing it instead of letting me murder it would probably do him better. Either way, I still get my zombie tokens to run his shit in. He takes a little time to really kind of contemplate what he just did, as he's starting to realize that the zombies kind of politely knocking at his door are starting to get a little bit aggressive in his manner. He decides to heal back 1 health and deal 1 health to me, but it kind of doesn't really matter to me, as I'm still going to run his pockets either way. These zombies' hands are rated E for everyone, and you best believe he is going to catch something. He decides to block the actual living creature from doing any type of damage, but it doesn't stop me from nearly knocking his ass to the ground by dropping him all the way down to 6 to my 17. All my little zombies return to the grave, and I politely allow it to be his turn once again in order to see if he has any counterpoints to all of this. He's only having 2 cards in his hand, or at least 1 card in his hand, and 1 card that I already know of that isn't really going to change anything. So, in the likelihood that that mysterious card will actually change something, he decides to play down his samurai once again, increasing the points of his little spark dragon. in order for it to do some chaos, so to say. He decides to hit up my little point-based system and give me some more zombie tokens, of all things. He's such a generous lad if you really think about it. And then here comes the real kicker. He decides to sacrifice his little samurai to heal himself by 1 point, as well as deal 1 point to me. Now, I'm looking at it, and he's going to do another 3, dropping me to 6 to his 7. And that's going to be just kind of delightful in the hindsight. I play down another 3-1, and because I have a blocker, and I'm about to run his pockets again, he decides to leave. Now, moving on to the third game. Looking at this hand, one would think that this hand is kind of trash in a sense. Me, on the other hand, I see potential. Now, I don't have my usual run-of-the-mill enchantments in order to basically get some cheeky onset gold started, but I do have a token generator in my hand, and on top of that, I do have some kill potential, as well as something to bring back my card if I accidentally lose it too early, which can definitely help here. So I decided to start off by bringing up the point of the deck, which is zombie tokens. Seeing as he's going to be running a spell deck, I figured that I might as well go ahead and get started on sitting the card out. That's why when it does die, inevitably, because, of course, red and blue is going to have quite a few kicker cards in there. Not kicker the ability, but kicker as in I'm going to want to unalive myself the further this game goes. But being the impatient person I am, I hate when people just kind of sit there reading the entire dictionary and lore of Magic the Gathering while we're playing, as you should probably already know what you're going to do at the split second that your opponent actually does something. The fact that you have to take 5 years to figure out, oh, I think I'm going to kill maybe this card that can block and not the card that can't block. Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea, you know. But I digress nonetheless. So I draw the only Planeswalker in this deck and also get rid of the idea of dragons being born in this game. I decide to send out my little 2/2 zombie just to get a little bit of a taste of kicker. I figured if he doesn't take it, I'd get a little onset of 2, but if he does take it, I still have the potential of killing it off, since I have the enchantment to give it -2/-2. And since he takes the bait, I decided to right on with that. And on top of that, I bring my little friend back and allow it to be his turn. Now with 2 potential bad cards off the field, I only have to wonder what more he's planning to do. But he just goes to his second main phase instead of doing anything on his first main phase. Though I believe the card that he would want to be able to use on his second main phase is only in Historic at the moment. And since we're currently playing Standard Ranked, that card won't see any use here. So I have a couple of options here on what I need to do next. So I decide to start going ahead and getting rid of some of the cards in his graveyard as I start re-preparing my field to potentially get my Planeswalker out, as well as my Maglodon. Not my Maglodon. My zombie husky puppy, along with his master out on the field. Especially since I'll probably need some health, because eventually those spells are going to turn against me if I'm not too careful. Here, once again, pulling out the dictionary to read through every specific details of every card that has ever existed in the game. He decides to play a land and completely skip his turn, meaning that most likely he has a counter in his hand, which kind of makes me wonder if I should play my Planeswalker or play my Husky Puppy first. But upon playing my Husky Puppy, there is no tick for the counter possibility, meaning that he has something in his hand, but he's not playing it. In which he plays his little Lightning Bolt card, Jaya's Lightning Bolt, in order to get rid of my little Husky Puppy. And then he proceeds to just quit, as he hasn't probably been drawing anything that he wants to see. So with that, we bring it to the end of the video. 3-0 to my Zubies deck, even though it's only just silver rank. I've only been in gold ever twice, so, you know, nothing too exciting to see, but I figured I'd just show off a little bit of something I've been working on the side. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want, share it with a friend, go outside and throw your phone against the wall in order to show your hate for it, do whatever you like. Anyway, if you do all of these things, just know that you'll be joining the Wolf Army.